right, welcome everybody. This is Mike Curry. I'm excited to kick off this very first episode here. My guest today is CEO of USA Benefits Group, someone who has played a major role in building one of the fastest growing companies in the insurance industry. And what I'm excited about today isn't just talking about the company. I really want to dig into the journey, how it all started, the struggles along the way, and then the lessons learned, building something at this scale. So, Rick, I appreciate you joining me today.
My pleasure, Mike. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us, what were you doing before insurance?
Oh man, I used to work at Lego Systems. If you have, you have kids, those little building bricks that you probably have stepped on, and you probably have cussed me. I worked there for 11 years out of high school. My sister got me the job there, and I worked up my way up through the ranks from the warehouse into the molding department, became a supervisor, and then one day they said, "Hey, I was like 30 years old at that point. They said, "Hey, we're going to mold bricks in Mexico, and you're not invited."
Wow.
And they laid a whole bunch of us off, and I had to decide what I was going to do, and I didn't necessarily want to get into another factory job where this could happen to me again when I was really, really old. Like when I'm 40, right? I'm 58 right now. 40 looks very, very young to me, Mike. You look very young to me. I appreciate the young studs in the business. But I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I got an entry-level sales position doing alarms. I was selling alarms door to door. And I was really good at it. I found out that I was really good. I immediately, first year, made about $20,000-$30,000 more than I was making at the factory. So I was like, wow, what was I concerned about? Sales is my thing. And then they made me the sales leader of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And we brought the sales team up, pretty exponentially. I just went into the houses with them and showed them how I did it. And all I did was keep a servant's heart. I'm here to help you. I'm here to secure your home. What's your concern? And then we would do that. But that job ended, and I was in Florida, and I opened up the newspaper, and I was looking for sales positions, and I saw a position that said, basically come sell insurance, you'll get renewal income. And I never heard the word renewal income before, but I says, it sounds like I'm going to sell something this year and get paid on it next year. Let me drive down there and find out what's going on. And that was my first, introduction into insurance sales. It was with a company called Cornerstone America. My office was out of St. Petersburg, Florida, and that's where I cut my teeth selling health and life insurance.
That's awesome. So you pretty much were in sales prior to that. Before finding insurance and the renewal aspect. I think that catches a lot of our eyes, being in insurance and whatnot. So tell us a little bit more about, I guess, the early days in insurance when you got in, because I think that's a part that obviously you've been in it in a while, right? But that's a part where people, kind of struggle, right? In the beginning, trying to maneuver something new like that, even if you have it, sales experience. So, tell me about some of the early struggles that, maybe you had that people don't see.
Yeah, well, back in the day, we used to, we didn't have Zoom meetings and this type of technology, Mike. We drove to people's homes, and I didn't even have a laptop. And this is 21 years ago. And I remember my upline, my regional manager, gave me a spare laptop, and I would drive around to people's homes, pull out the laptop, and give them quotes and writing applications. I think, I had to book all my own appointments and run the appointments and help people. I think one of the hardest things to do is actually, that people have, in the independent world, is when you're not just being handed hot leads, is that you have to prospect and you have to market. You have to find people that have a problem that you can probably solve. And I think that's the hardest part. But we have those solutions here at USA Benefits Group, right? We have a lot of solutions on how we market. Whether it be, teaching people how to do BNI and chamber and leads that we have, or how to create your own leads by using, ad managers and Facebook and things of that nature. But you can also just buy leads. If you got money, you can just buy leads and start calling. I know when I got my wife into the program, she was like, you can just buy leads of people that are interested and just call them. And she said, yeah. She goes, where do I sign up for this? And I enrolled. And that was my best recruit, Mike. That was my absolute best recruit. I think the other thing is that a lot of people come in and they think I think agents need to stick to the phone script. In other words, stick to the script that already works. Follow your upline. They were successful, right? So follow that, which works, which is a proven method of working, right? Whether it be in the marketing or the phone script or which products to, pitch your clients, stick to that and become an expert at that. And then you can add your own pizzazz to it. You can add your own persona to it. You can maybe decide to change the phone script. I remember, we had hired some employee agents at one time, my wife and I, and they would always try to change the phone script. And I remember my wife telling them, Jessica, she says to them, when you write more business than me, then you can change the phone script and we'll all do what you're doing. Until you write more than me, we're going to do what I do. Right. And she was right. She was 100% right. Until you do better than her, follow what she does. And the same with me. So she got that phone script from me.
What do you think? Because I think that speaks to a lot of people, and I've obviously battled the same thing as a leader. But what do you think it is in people that feel the need to, instead of just following the system, but it makes them feel like they have to change things? Like there's a proven system, but people come, and it's happened. Obviously, it happened then. It happens now. And it's like the biggest deterrent of success, right? So if we have something that we've built that is proven and people have used it, why do you think it is that agents come in and they feel this need to, like, oh, I've got to change it and do it myself?
Well, I'm not so sure that, that's, if we can answer those questions of the human psyche, I could become a psychologist, but they don't make as much money as we do. Right. And so, I think, I honestly, Mike, I just don't know the answer to that. But I do know this is that we're going to learn on the front end or we're going to learn on the back end. Right. And so some people, learn better on the back end. And what that means is, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go do it my way. And a lot of times, more times than not, they go get their butt handed to them. Right. And they don't have great success. And then they come back and say one of two things. One, I'm going to quit. Or two, hey, let me try it your way because my way is not working. Right. Then you got the smart people, right? And honestly, I wasn't one of the smart people, okay? But the smart people, they say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it your way. Why reinvent the wheel? Let me do it your way right from the beginning. And those people will accelerate their success much, much faster because, the truth of the matter is when I came to USA Benefits Group, I was just looking for, and by now I had 5 years in the business. So I was teachable at that point, right? I was teachable. I had my butt kicked. I knew that I didn't know everything. And I was ready to learn. Okay. So that was good. I came in at a good place. And I knew that I would be successful if I just had a mentor to show me how in a vehicle of opportunity that worked. And I found that in the platform of USABG. It was a vehicle of opportunity that works and a mentor to show me how. And then I became the successful version of me, which I wasn't the 5 years prior.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's cool. And I think you're right in everything that you said. And I think at the end of the day, we all have resources and things are put in place, and it's just so much easier to come in, follow the people that have already been successful. And that's true in any position, any sales position. It doesn't matter if it's insurance or real estate or whatever. You're trying to duplicate what the others have already figured out. And I'm trying to teach my son this in sports now. It's like there's a reason why we do this, why we field a ground ball the way we field a ground ball. It's because people have done it wrong for years and have made it perfected it so that you can do it efficiently as you grow older. So that's cool. Well, let's move into USA Benefits Group. Obviously, that's where we are now. That's what we have. That's what we're growing. Tell us about the kind of the transition. Obviously, you moved into it. You started selling. You started building a division. Talk to us about that, and then how that unfolded into acquiring it.
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to just back up a little because I think this is super important. And it was April 26, 2004 was my first day on the insurance job, right? I was going in for training and I hadn't got my license yet, but I was going to school and I was getting trained at the same time on selling insurance. And, that day I had gone too far of being unemployed and my car got repoed that day. All right. And then my wife had to drive me from Tampa to St. Petersburg for that first day. And we had gotten in an argument because money was tight. We were probably, partying a little harder than we should have been back then. This is, a long time ago. And we got in a big time argument and she went and totaled her car. and ended up in the hospital with a serious critical injuries. So now I have 0 cars. I have 0 insurance license. It's my first day to my commissions job, and my wife is in the hospital. So anybody out there who's listening right now, if you're not in that position, you're light years ahead of me of where I started on my first day, in insurance. And then of course I had all this pressure, failed my test the first time just to add to all the drama and the problems. So from there, I went and worked at Cornerstone America for a couple of years. Then I worked at this company called Independent Producers of America for a couple of years. So around 5 years in totality. And, I wasn't happy. I was miserable. Okay. I was driving all over God's good creation, Essential Florida. I was selling insurance. I knew that I was good at what I was doing. I had built, a pretty sizable team. But I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the products that we had, and I wasn't happy with the companies that I was at. And I was about to quit, and that's when I ran into USA Benefits Group. Okay, and I ran into USA Benefits Group, and Don Duryea was the founder of USABG, and what it was a one-stop shop for all my clients' needs, all in one spot, and all the brokers' needs to go serve those clients. And he showed me I could do it over the phone and over the internet. They didn't have Zoom back then. They had an inferior product that worked a lot better than driving around the people's houses. And I fell in love with USABG that day. And I says, oh my gosh, they have everything that I need to be successful right here. And I proceeded to, A, bring on new clients, but B, call my old clients and actually put them in better products and say, hey, you know what, that was good back then, but this is better. And I actually put them in name brand products that all the doctors took and meet their needs and their budget. And in short order, I had a few agents call me from the previous company and say, hey, man, where did you go? You just ghosted that place. And where are you? I says, hey, man, at the time, it was, USABG was much smaller because this is, now we're looking at 16 years ago. I'm like, dude, I'm at this podunk company called USABG. I'm selling over the phone and over the internet. I'm absolutely crushing it in my pajamas, right? You might want to check it out. Few agents followed me over. They're still here to this day with me, Dave Morrow being one of them.
Wow.
And and pretty cool. And so I just put my head down and just started selling insurance. And then, Don tapped me and said, hey, man, we'd like you to get into the recruiting program and start showing others what you're doing so they can be successful too. And I started building a sizable, MGA here at USA Benefits Group. And I was quite happy, just doing that for the rest of my life. But that's not what God had in mind. And things had changed. Don wanted to retire after about 6 years ago. And Jessica, my wife, and I bought USA Benefits Group from him and took over USABG at that point with some serious goals in mind.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. So I want to hit on that, but something that you mentioned, and you were talking about some of the guys that were still here today. One thing that I've found interesting, and you don't see at other places, is the longevity. And we'll hit on some of the reasons why USABG here in a bit. But while you mentioned it, you mentioned Dave coming over with you. There's 38 years now. Obviously, USABG's been in business, A+ rating with a Better Business Bureau, which is incredible when you look at it. And I'll hit on some of those things here in a bit. But there's people that have been here for the whole 38 years, right? There's been people here for 6 years, 15 years, 20 years, and in just my short time in insurance, that's unheard of in my opinion, where people stick in one spot and grow it. So I think it's just a testament of what you guys have done and how you've continued to grow. And I didn't want to gloss over that because that's super cool. And that's something that needs to be noted, that This is a place that you come, you work, and you really build around the family that is USABG. And it's a long-term plant your flag and do whatever you want and take it as far as you want type of company. And that's cool.
Yeah. No, it's an excellent point. It's people that are successful or people that have experience in the market, in the game, right? In this game, see USABG and they are blown away by what we have and, jump in with both feet and say, this is amazing. A one-stop shop for all my health, life, and senior needs with full support, contracts, training, motivation, trips, lead programs, technology, everything that we have in one spot. And it's a lot better than what it was when we, 15 years ago, and it's a heck of a lot better than it was even 5 years ago because we're continually
Right.
improving that. And yeah, we got some, we have quite a few agents that have been here for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we're on this topic, like, what do you think? What makes USABG different than other insurance groups? So if someone's watching this and they're trying to figure out, where do I want to plant my flag in insurance? What would you say makes this different from other insurance groups?
Well, I probably just said it, but I can expand on that, right? But the reason I fell in love with USA Benefits Group was because it's a one-stop shop for all my needs. That I don't have to have a contract over at this person and a contract over at this agency and a contract over at this FMO, and I got 40 phone numbers in my phone, and I'm trying to get a hold of somebody to get some help, and I can't get any help, and I can't get this, and you know, I only did a little bit of business with this carrier, so they're not really returning my call. And but I did a lot of business with this carrier. But when I'm with USA Benefits Group, I got the full support of USABG behind me, right? So USABG, one, I got all the carriers that my clients need. I got competitive competition, commissions, right? Beyond competitive. And I have all the training that I need. I have all the broker support that I need. I have an upline who knows what he's doing. In fact, I have an army of uplines that know what they're doing, because one of the things that's special about us is that we work with each other. Like, we all train each other as agents, right? So it's not me. That's one of the other things. It's not me having to hand train every single agent, or me getting trained by one person. I'm getting trained by a whole bunch of people that know what they're doing, and I can pick the things that matter to me and run with those. So those are some, fantastic things, that the reasons I originally fell in love with USA Benefits Group. And what we've done since then is expanded on that platform on a massive scale. We have more agents making more money, than ever before.
Yeah, I've seen this firsthand, obviously, as being a division leader here, and I think it's so cool because the support that you get when you're a signature agent, which we can talk about that. Um, Full broker support, right? When we need help, contracting support. You have a system that's literally a one-stop shop. You log into it, you get access to live weekly training, carrier training, special product training or sales training. You get access to E&O coverage through this platform. You get access to lead programs, CRM. You get access to literally in your system. You can, like you were saying with the contracts, we have the core carriers that we recommend based on what we write the most as a company, and what and that it's always changing, obviously, as different companies and products come out. But you can literally scroll down and add a contract to your cart like it's shopping on Amazon. And from what I've found, there's no carrier that we can't get. And if it's not active and it's important and we need it, we can get it. So it's like you literally have everything at your disposal. And something cool, and you mentioned this, is the fact that whether you do life insurance, whether you do health insurance, whether it's private health under 65 or ACA, or whether you do Medicare, or whether you do it all. We've got guys that do it all, right? You can literally do everything with the most competitive commissions and top leadership and people that. And one thing that I respect about you and the way that this whole thing works is, I've been a part of other companies, and you're pretty much everybody is pushed to recruit. And here, obviously, if you want to build a team, we have an incredible platform to build a team. But when you come in, you don't get recruiting links. We're not, you don't come in and push to, hey, bring on everybody No, we want you to prove yourself first. Like, you have to prove yourself through your production and be somebody that we want duplicated. And that speaks volumes, because I have people all the time. It's like, hey, I don't really want to write much business, but I want to recruit a team. And I'm like, well, here it's different. We're not recruiters first. We're agents that prove ourselves through our production and prove that we're somebody that someone else wants to follow. So you guys have protected that. And that's one thing that I appreciate. And maybe not everybody, if they started at USA Benefits Group, maybe they don't understand the impact or all of the things that you get. Because I've found, I started in life insurance, Rick, that. And the health insurance world is completely different. It's so funny. I'll tell this story real quick for those out there that maybe are in the life industry watching this. But there was a guy that that I was talking to that was in health insurance, and man, here I was over here spending a, I'm embarrassed to tell you guys, but it's like $2,000 a week in leads, $8,000 a month in life leads, right? To write. Now I was writing 20, 30 grand a month in commissions. But I'm spending all this money. I'm working 60, 80 hours a week. I'm in the office I started in home. I'm dialing 12 to 14 hour days, starting at 8, not getting home till 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock some nights because I've got to hit my numbers, right, to have the appointments. And then there's this guy over, on the health side, and he doesn't work weekends. Okay. He's traveling all the time. And I'm like, what in the world am I doing wrong? And come to find out, he's building renewals. He's building renewals. So when he sells policies, it's paying him as long as the clients keep it. So instead of starting over every year, this guy's over here compounding. It's like a penny doubled every day, right? It starts slower, but it's compounding. And like, I just got really jealous of the lifestyle. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm in the wrong vehicle. And so anyway, coming full circle and finding the health insurance game, for me, it's like, dude, not only is what we do in the health insurance world primarily impactful and how it's the most profitable insurance platform I've ever found and all the support. But on top of it, it's like all of the things like why USABG, it's like all the things that USABG offers to the agent. And to me, it's like I've never found, and I'm saying this, full transparency, I've not found anything like this machine, is what I call it with our guys, anywhere in the insurance industry. So I just felt the need to say that because obviously you're going to say that it's your baby, right? But like as somebody on the outside that is now here, like that's what I've discovered being here. And,
Yeah.
I'm super proud. And one other thing I'll say on this is like, and this is something that I talk to people about, and it's so important. It's so cool. Most IMOs you look at are like agent facing IMOs, right? Where everything, like whenever you look at it from a vantage point online or anything, it's all about recruiting and numbers and all of these things that are meant to attract recruits, right? And those things are good, but you rarely ever see the client side of the business, right? Which is the whole point of it, right? And helping people, serve people, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, or Medicare, or whatever, right? Whereas here, it's like that A plus rating with the Better Business Bureau isn't agent facing. That's client facing. USABG has provided a platform in which they've served their clients. So if you want to work with a company that serves their clients and does right by people, that's why, in my opinion, you've been blessed with this company. It's because the entire focus is client driven, and it's making sure clients are served. It's making sure the products that we are writing are providing the right resources and coverage for the clients. And, that's just been huge for me. And I didn't want to just like gloss over it. I wanted to, hit on that because it's just like, it's been so impactful. So, let's talk a little bit more here. I want to ask you, like, as far as the health industry, and this is a kind of a loaded question because nobody really knows, right? But where do you think the health insurance industry is headed right now?
That is a loaded question. So, if you look at the short term, we have a Republican administration in office right now. And the truth of the matter is, I always thought that would be better for us. And I'm not sure what's good for us, okay? Because we've had, Democrats in office too that put together the Affordable Care Act. And I thought that, when the Affordable Care Act came out, everybody was panicking that it was going to be, an absolute nightmare. But the saving grace, the people, the mentors that I had in this business would tell me, well, even if it goes socialized, they're still going to need a lot of supplements to gap insure, that public insurance, and we're just going to make a lot of money selling those. And I was like, oh, okay, and that's what I was going to, hang on to that if things all went sour. But they paid us to sell the Affordable Care Act, and then they stopped paying us to sell the Affordable Care Act, then they started paying us again, and it's been a very turbulent time in the last 10, 15 years. And every year or every other year, Mike, I actually thought we were out of business. And every year I made more money than the year before because we pivoted on a dime and found out a way to help our clients. business, right? And so where we're headed in the future, I mean, if it goes, if it goes completely, socialized, well, you know what? There's always going to be gaps, just like Medicare, right? There's gaps in Medicare, there's gaps in ACA, and we'd be able to fill that. But it's going the other way right now. It's a pendulum, right? That's the American way, right? That's how it goes. It goes from one way to the other, and it kind of keeps us center, right? It kind of keeps us center. But right now, we're moving back towards free market. I personally like free market, right? We're making a lot of money in the free market, and right now, those Biden era subsidies have gone away, and so people are looking for alternatives to the U65 market, and that's where we're absolutely crushing it right now and growing like gangbusters, helping millions and millions of people, get insurance that makes sense for them in the private sector, that can keep them off the Affordable Care Act because it's so expensive. Now, if they're getting a big tax credit or they have a pre-existing condition, we have the Affordable Care Act there for them. So I don't see this changing much, in the long term. I see it staying, the pendulum's gonna go back and forth as different administrations come in, but it always seems to keep us center line, and we're always able to, help our clients in any market. And I just want to backtrack to what you said about, not letting everybody recruit here. Of course not. We have high culture and high integrity here, right? And I think the culture that we have is fantastic, and that it's because we keep good integrity. And we want to make sure that somebody's going to be able to be effective in selling insurance, but also are they doing it in a way that are they doing it in a right way for the client? Because we don't want a bad apple creating more bad apples, right?
Right.
I don't want an ineffective leader creating more ineffective agents. I don't want an unethical leader creating more unethical agents, right? I don't want somebody anti-culture creating more anti-culture people. So we want to get to know this person, know that they're worthy of being on our coveted leadership team, to keep this ship moving in the direction that we're moving it in. So I hope that all makes sense to you. But I love this game, Mike. I love this game. I never knew that I would love it. I never grow up saying, hey man, I want to be a health insurance agent. That didn't happen. In fact, when I first introduced this to my wife, she said, I'd rather chew my arm off. That was her exact words. And then she became, number one agent here for years and years and years. And now it's my partner in owning USA Benefits Group and growing USA Benefits Group. And that's what we're looking to do. And I do want to say this too, they say the average shelf life of an agent, a health insurance agent, on average is 5 years. Well, we busted that code, and the way we bust that code is to remind everybody that we're servants and we're here to serve people. And if you have a servant's heart, I picture my wife waking up every day. She puts on her little Supergirl cape and flies out into the world and says, who can I help today? That's how you can do the distance. That's how we have these agents here 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, is because we keep a servant's heart. And all we are here is stop counting the money. My mentor told me to do that a long time ago. Stop counting the money and start counting how many people you can help. The money will come on the back end. And you know what? Having that perspective, I've been doing this for 21 years, and I don't have an end game in mind for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. I'm having fun watching or helping people be successful, right? We have a freedom making career here, Mike. And I like to coin this as agency in the box, turnkey operation. And those who, can pick up the tools that we lay at their feet and run with them, will also have a freedom making career, right? They're going to be able to enjoy the same luxuries that you and I have for our family. And we want to pay that forward to their families. And they hopefully will do that for somebody else in the future.
Yeah, and that's beautifully said. And that's so true, man. And, the industry, the way it is right now, like, it's so powerful, and it's cool to be able to come in and just plug into it, come in here and it's just like plugging into what you guys have going on. Just to speak on the stability, because you mentioned it, it's wild, but like that was, again, one of the things that like drew me here was, okay, you've been in business at the time for 36 years and now, 38. And it's like, you guys have weathered the storm, ridden the wave, the highs, the lows, regardless. It doesn't matter because we can do it all, right? Like we can pivot, like you said. That's a perfect word, like pivot on a dime. Like we can literally pivot on a dime, and we're not stuck. And I've been places where we had one carrier or two carriers, and it's great in a sense of like it's easy to teach an agent to do one thing, but like we have so much different areas of like angles that we can hit, and And so it's such a beautiful way of like, I run into agents all the time or clients all the time that have, like, for instance, they'll just have an ACA plan, right? And it'll be like an $8,000 deduct. Well, it doesn't hardly work for them other than in a catastrophic situation. We have angles at which, like, we can give them where they have day one coverage and still have the max out of pocket. Like, there's so many different things that I've learned even from some of the other leaders that have been here longer that have positioned products differently. There's so many different angles here, and there's so much expertise on the sales side of it to where, like, we can truly, like, put clients in the best position. And it's not always just one product, in the way that we bundle packages of protection. You just have to, be here to understand probably what I'm saying. But, to kind of summarize and wrap this up, I want to hit on the recent years because, you started out in a sales role. You moved into a couple different companies before joining USABG. You grinded at USABG as an agent, built a team, loved the company so much that you and your wife, purchased it. And then I want to talk about this and then move into the AmeriLife stuff that you've accomplished. But you had this, I want you to talk about this 10X in 10 years goal, because you talk to us all the time on the leader meeting about it. And I think it's powerful. One, for, people that are speaking life, right? When you speak positive things or you speak things into existence, obviously you have to go execute. But talk about this 10X in 10 years, where we're at, where you see it headed, and then, well, let's stop there, and then we'll talk about the rest to finish up.
That's right. So when we purchased USA Benefits Group, I had a big plan, right? And I came in guns blazing, and I got out of my first national sales meeting with, all these agents on there. And I says, listen, guys, we're going to 10X this company in 10 years. And then I did the math, because I'm a ready, shoot, aim guy. I did the math, and I says, oh man, we have to grow by 25% year over year, right? And I run it by my wife, and I go, man, I think I got to go back on the next week's call and tell them that, yeah, we bit too much. We got to back that up. And she said, no, you can't do that now. It's your first week on the job. You have to figure out how to get it done. And I says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get more agents making more money. We're going to help the agents we have make more money, help more clients. That's how you make more money. That's how you make money in this world. Unless you work for the government, you're going to help people, right? That's how you make money. Solve problems. We're solving people's problems. That's what we did. So what we decided to do was, one, we had to build out the infrastructure. I rebuilt the website, the platform. It's not a website. Website doesn't do it justice. It's a very robust broker office for the agents. And we built that thing out. We got a couple $1 million into this thing, and the upkeep on it is $500,000 a year. Okay. That's where we're at with this thing. It's absolutely phenomenal, right? We have to upgrade all the trainings, full-blown training scenarios that we have in here. We have to upgrade our contracting. If we're going to onboard a whole bunch of agents, we need a procedure to be able to onboard them easily. We need a procedure to be able to train them easily. They need a broker support team. So I had to hire a lot of people. We have 15 employees right now supporting our agency right now. And then, so we built up the platform, we built up the contracting, we built out the support system, we built out the training, we got better contracts, we got better commissions for everybody. Absolutely crazy. And then we had to build out a recruiting platform for that. And then we had to feed the agents with leads, right? So we had to come out with a leads program that makes sense. And, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to shove a lead down an agent's throat, but rather, hey, here's a half a dozen or a dozen agent lead vendors that we use. And how would you like the money instead? And you get to pick what you want to do for what lead source that you want to purchase and be able to help your clients. So anyways, in the last 5 years, we have grown 25% plus year over year over year. We're actually 2 years ahead of schedule, Mike. If we keep up this rate, we will have 10X the company in 3 more years, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we're super excited about that. It's absolutely bananas. I do want to read this to you, Mike, because I read this morning and I thought of you. It says, stop being patient. This is from Elon Musk, by the way. Stop being patient and start asking yourself, how do I accomplish my 10-year plan in 6 months? You will probably fail, but you'll be far ahead of the person who simply accepted it would take 10 years. So our 10-year plan, I thought, was super aggressive. You had mentioned to me, Mike, about doing podcasts and marketing, a lot more, accelerating what we're doing, right? You wanted to throw kerosene on this awesome blazing fire of USA benefits that are got going on. And you're like, dude, this is great. Let's throw some gas on it and make it better and accelerate this, or accelerate the momentum. That's our theme for the year, and it's my backdrop right now. How do we accelerate this momentum? And you said, hey, man, by us accelerating this momentum with this social media outpouring that we're doing and going to continue to do and accelerate that even, we could probably grow the company, 10x from where we are in a lot faster time than 10x. So absolutely amazing. We started off as a small company, $20 million in premium. We're up to 125 last year. We're probably going to hit, 175, if not greater this year. But if you grow by 25% year over year for 3 years, you'll double where you're at in 3 years. So 125 million in 3 years, we should be at 250 unless we accelerate the momentum like we're doing, and maybe we can grow that a lot faster. And you know what? Why don't we just 10x from where we are right now, right? But not in 10 years. Let's do it in 3 to 5, right? Or faster. And I think that's what you and I are partnering on, Mike, and with the rest of the divisional leaders here, the rest of the executive leadership team, we're planning on launching this thing out and doing that.
Yeah, 100%. This thing's on fire, man. I love it here. Everybody, it's such a unique culture too, because like we go to the conference or we get together and it's like everybody's family. It's not like any other place I've ever been. Like everyone's family, everyone wants everyone to win. Divisions are helping divisions. I was at conference and John's like, hey dude, anything I can do to help train your team, like anything I can do that I can help you with. And and the same for me, right? Anything I can do to help anyone else grow. Like we're all in it together with a vested interest growing USA Benefits Group, which helps all the agents, helps all the clients. And it's a super cool place to be. Well, let's wrap this up. I want you to, one more thing that I want to mention is, because I think it's a huge accomplishment, is it's super cool that as agency owners, if you come, you learn how to sell. I've got this thing and I've lived by it literally since the day I got in insurance and I learned it. Okay. You learn how to sell insurance. You teach people how to sell insurance. And then where your true freedom and wealth comes from is when you teach people how to teach people to sell insurance.
Yes, that's good.
I am in the teaching people how to teach people to sell insurance phase. And I love it so much. And I love that process. Some people, want to jump to the end, but it's like there's a process that comes, right? Talk about AmeriLife, what you can anyway, and the opportunity for someone to come in, learn how to sell insurance, teach agents how to sell insurance, and then teach people how to sell insurance, right? Teach people how to teach people to sell insurance. I'm sorry. And that opportunity that is AmeriLife.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. So AmeriLife is a mega agency, right? They own, 100 plus, or they've merged or invested into 100 plus agencies like USA Benefits Group. And I was doing, they're right, I'm in the greater Tampa area. They're right in Clearwater, which isn't very far. And we had some of our Medicare contracts through AmeriLife, right? And after about 3 years of doing this, since the purchase of USABG, and we 3.5x the company, they kind of, heard of what we were doing, and, they wanted to invest into a U65 company like ours that's growing, aggressively growing. They like companies that are growing. And so we merged with them. So they're our parent company today. We've continued the growth. Actually, the growth has accelerated since our merger with AmeriLife, but it's, absolutely awesome. They basically invest in you, give you, you have to give up a portion of your business, but they give you a lot of money for that. They stay in the game with you, you stay in the game, and then you get to grow the company together, right? So if you sold your business, I tell all my divisions, become acquisition ready, man. Whether you want to do it or not is irrelevant. Become acquisition ready. That's the goal, right? And you do it the way that you just described it, right? And then, by doing that, right, you can help other companies become, or other downline agencies become acquisition ready as well. So you want to sell insurance, you want to teach people to sell insurance, you want to teach people how to become acquisition ready, and then you want to teach them how to teach people how to become acquisition ready. It's a whole nother level, Mike. It's a whole nother level that I didn't even know existed until I became a proud AmeriLife partner. Super glad that we did. Now, by growing the company, if I sell 50% of my company and I grow by 25% year over year for 3 years, in that 3 years, I will have doubled our business, thereby getting back the equity that I sold in terms of profit distribution every year. So it's pretty darn cool. It's a cool game. I'd love to tell more people about it. But if you're not acquisition ready, join USA Benefits Group and we'll help you become acquisition ready. If that's your heart's desire, if you just want to be an agent and help insurance and help people with their health insurance and make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, we can absolutely help you do that. If you want to grow a team, we can absolutely help you do that. If you want to become acquisition ready, we'll absolutely help you do that.
Amen. I love it. And I'm super excited, man. It's the coolest opportunity on the planet. Like you said, I never grew up thinking I was ever going to be an insurance agency owner or agent. And in fact, my best friend is in insurance and never thought to recruit me because I'm not the guy you would think that would ever be successful in insurance. So if you're out there, you're watching this, you're like, I don't know, I don't see myself in insurance, or maybe you're at a place and you haven't had success yet. At the end of the day, you can make that switch, that decision in your mind and choose to be successful and follow the lead and follow people who are actively doing what you're trying to do. And that's really the key. It's not to reinvent the wheel. We've talked about it, right? It's to plug into the system and run the ball. It's a football game, right? You got a playbook. Here's the playbook. Don't run that way when the play's over here, right? Like we've got to run the ball, right? One of my guys, Brian Holden, he's like, run the ball, Ricky. And it always makes me laugh, but it's so true, So anyway, right. Well, Rick, I'm so, thankful, happy to have you on here today. It's super cool to kind of talk through this whole thing. If someone wanted to work with USA Benefits Group, how can they get a hold of you?
I think the best way to do it is to go to usabg.com, hit careers, and learn more now. You can see a company overview. You can fill out a form at a time of when a good time for one of our top divisions to sit down with you and see if there's a fit here.
Awesome. So usabg.com, fill out the form. Also, go ahead and follow USA Benefits Group or USABG on YouTube. And you can go like and follow the Instagram and Facebook page as well. So thank you guys for listening in. We'll be back for more. And thank you, Rick. Had a good time talking through and look forward to seeing you guys on the team.
All right. Good times, man. Let's grow together.
Let's grow.